You said in this report that this crisis, like no other, will have a recovery like no other. Could you perhaps explain what you meant by that, and what have been the biggest changes that have struck you from the April outlook to today?
Yes, so I would first flag that if you look at the first half of this year, you have that's when you had the deepest contraction. So we are projecting a very deep contraction in many economies right now, but this is, the first half of this year was where we saw the biggest brunt of it. And now we're seeing reopening, and you're seeing a spurt in activity. So this is the first thing, which is like a recovery like no other, which is that usually when you have major contractions, it can be a slow process for the recovery. But because these are lockdowns and reopening, we're seeing a quick recovery. But at the same time, because the health crisis is not over, and you could have future waves, there's tremendous uncertainty. So the recovery might start out being quick, but will be prolonged in our opinion. And at the same time, it will hit sectors very differently. So there will be contact-intensive sectors like leisure, hospitality, tourism, travel. I mean, those will be impacted for a long time, as long as this health crisis is still there.
You've, in a sense, compared what's happening today, that the world will not see, hasn't seen a recession like this since the Great Depression. Also, the interesting points you made about health and the economy now being so closely intertwined. Earlier reasons for recessions have often been linked to more financial factors, economic factors. This is a very different kind of recession given the reasons. Are we going to see a complete change in what our economic focus and priorities are related to health?
I think this is absolutely going to happen and across the globe. Like you said, this is a crisis where the shock is a health shock. And frankly, we don't even know how long the shock is going to last and what shape it will take. So there is tremendous uncertainty on that front. And if you look at how it's impacting economies, even if you look at very open economies that rely on exports and so on, for them, most of the hit is coming domestically. So this is a crisis that's going to call for much bigger investment in health infrastructure in countries around the world. Make sure that there is a wide safety net in the sense that people can afford healthcare and have access to healthcare. And this will be an important investment that countries will have to make.
And of course, at a time when the world was looking more global than ever before in the terms of international markets, etc., now it's actually a time when we saw so many closed borders, cutting down on travel. Now, that's all will have an economic impact in terms of, do you think, international trade as well? What do you see as the long-term implications of the almost reverse of globalization in one sense?
So so this health crisis is necessitating the closing of borders for people to move across as opposed to goods. And as long as you have hotspots anywhere in the world, I think that will persist for a while. So this obviously, will restrict tourism for countries, and there are countries that rely almost entirely on tourism, and for them this is a big hit, a prolonged hit. But in terms of what this implies for globalization more generally, I think we have to keep pushing and making the argument that trade in goods has helped people around the world. Trade in services has helped people around the world. It has helped with raising productivity, job creation at a global level. And so, while countries might be rethinking globalization or might be deciding to localize production for not the right reasons, I think they should keep in mind that there have been tremendous benefits from globalization.